welcome to another segment of the VIP Business Insider. I'm Don Emilio Zeno, along with Richard Smith, all the way from New York, our VIP Insider. How are you, Rich?
I'm doing great, Don. How you doing?
I'm doing great as well. And let me tell you, if we got a VIP guest today, VIP in this case would definitely stand for very interesting person. Let me tell you a little bit about his background and then help me welcome our VIP guest. Our VIP guest is an African-American and a native of Washington, D.C. He's a graduate of the American University School of Communication. Wow, he's on the right program for sure. Department of Television and Film, and attended graduate school of Howard University. He majored in communication theory. He's a former United States Marine, so I'm sure we don't want to screw around with him. In his early profession, career experiences were in media, public relations, business development for both the nonprofit and private corporate sectors. In addition, he has developed a number of breakthrough professional sports and entertainment events in association with such corporations as, these are small companies, Rich, Budweiser, Coca-Cola, Black Entertainment Television. He's considered an expert in community-based small business development. He has successfully organized the development and launch of various product introductions, from exotic coffees, sports energy beverages, to luxury furs. Now, for the last several years, he likes to be called Stefan, has concentrated on initiating and positioning the cross-brand methodologies and strategies needed to develop and market international urban apparel and urban music to highly informed 21st century global consumer. Now, along with his partner, Canadian-born Julie Lakis, Steve has formed the Montreal-based group Demasi, which we'll get on later on into the conversation, an incorporated company which owns the intellectual property rights of various brands and has showroom offices in Montreal, Rich, Montreal, not New York, because it's the only, according to our VIP guest, it's the only French province in North America. Now, he's the founder, CEO, president of both Group Demasi and Righteous Arsenal Records. Richard, help me welcome Mr. A. Stefan Moss.
Hey.
Steve, are you there?
Yeah, I'm flattered. You know.
Well, you should be. It's quite impressive. Let me set the stage, and then I'll let you spiel, and Rich can take it from there. Richard. Steve, I like to call him Steve, but he likes to be called Stefan, but whatever. Steve Moss Googled us, and because we're well positioned, he sought out VIP Internet Radio, and he asked me a specific question, and I truthfully brushed him off, but in a good way. I told him the truth. He was looking for a specific thing, and I couldn't lie to him because it's not in my nature. And he didn't accept that. He came back to me about a week ago and said, Don, you're the man. You're the man. I says, why? What did I do? He says, you're the guy that I need, that I'm looking for, and the rest is history. I haven't spoken to anyone as much as I have with this man in the last 4 days. We've been on the phone and in person, on and off, for at least almost an average of 5 hours a day. Is that the truth, Steve?
Absolutely. Yeah, minimum, yeah. I would say.
Now,
it's been wonderful. It's been enjoyable now.
Yeah, likewise, the experience is mine, believe me, and I mean that with all my heart. Now, Steve, let me tell the folks how we got this far, why we got this far, what it is that we're trying to do together, because I'm really excited, and it's rare that I get excited on a new project, having seen a lot of things in my business in the last 5 years. And what's exciting me is because this man is the master knowledge, has master knowledge when it comes to boxing. And this is what we're going to be talking towards the second segment till the end of the show. But first, I want Steve to tell us exactly what he does for a living. Please, Steve, take it from there.
Well, what I do is I try to bring a corporate paradigm, or let's say a way of organizing Main Street activities along corporate lines. I think the problem with business today is that it has gotten away from the brass tacks of communities. You know, I'm an African American who found himself as I got more successful, I found myself distancing myself from my community, and I thought that there may be a better way of keeping money in circulation down on the ground, so to speak. Mm-hmm. What I do basically is I put together a small ensemble, a sports and entertainment ensemble in Montreal and Quebec. Ironically, when I came here, I didn't intend to stay. I came on business. We were putting together an apparel collection in the States, and most people in the apparel industry know that there's a show that happens twice a year in Las Vegas called the Magic Show. It's an acronym that stands for the Men Apparel Guild in California. And some time ago, a group of folks came out of New York in the genre of hip-hop and went into a section at the Magic Show called Young Men's and changed it forever. They brought kind of a popular urban culture to a somewhat sterile way of promoting urban apparel. And they turned it into, I guess, a lifestyle. You know, they brought a lifestyle to a show and changed it forever. And as a result of that, I was talking to somebody in New York, and they told me that they had a product that they wanted to introduce into the show. And by this time, the show, or this particular section called Urban, had a 5 to 8 year, I don't say 5 to 8, but say a 3 to 5 year waiting list. It was that popular. And I was talking to somebody, and they said to me, well, Steve, you know, we want to introduce a fur collection. And I said, fur, okay, so we're talking about mink, so forth and so on. So my idea was if I had a product of that stature, so if I have a fur or a fur item at the top end, then I obviously could sell everything else for more. T-shirt with a clothing line that has a mink coat obviously would sell for more. And so I put a relationship together with this company where we worked out a deal where we would present the line in the urban section. And as a result of that, I went to the show, did well, and I was invited to Montreal. I had a ticket to come to Montreal on the 14th of September, 2001. And, of course, when it got close to the date of the 14th, 9/11 occurred. So once this 9/11 situation occurred, I actually couldn't fly out to Montreal. I drove, and I came past, because I'm from Washington, D.C., but we had an office down in Virginia, and I came past the Pentagon. I came past New York City, which was the ground zero of the World Trade Center, into Montreal. And Montreal sort of changed my life. I didn't have any desire to stay in Montreal. One incentive was, at the time, the Canadian dollar was worth about $1.45 U.S., which means if you had a U.S. dollar in Canada, you had $1.45. That was quite intriguing.
Now, I remember those days, yes.
So I was, you know, kind of set to go back and forth. And then I ran into something kind of strange. In other words, I was looking for a community community of people like I was experienced with in Washington, D.C. I'm a fairly well-educated guy. I'm on a certain social strata, and I was looking for a community in Montreal that I could relate to. To make a long story short, that community became a group of people called the Québécois. I had never heard of the term Québécois normally when you go to a place on business, if you don't have any business contacts or any need to go outside of the downtown business district, you don't venture off there. In this particular situation, this whole idea of the Quebecois, who I knew nothing about, started to intrigue me because, ironically, the Quebecois culture was very much like the African American culture. So this led to this exploratory reason why this group of people who I knew nothing about at the top of the hill in North America were so like me. And that actually led me on to a journey that took me back to West Africa first, the people in West Africa called the Marsi, then related to the Dogon, then back and back. And I ran into a somewhat, I don't want to say mystical, but a somewhat mysterious figure called Prester John. Prester John was either an individual or institution. This led to a person named Mansa Musa. And it seems to me that I traced a relationship that took place around the 14th or the 15th century with members of the Crusades and a West African king. This became very, very intriguing.
Steve,
and then trying to figure out how it, yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. We're going to be taking our first break. I'm being flagged here that we need to take a little break.
No problem.
But when we come back, and I just wanted to tease Rich. Rich, you still there?
I'm here.
You see, we do have some importance in the eyes of United States of America. You're hearing it from an American. Les Québécois is originated from United States.
Well, he had to figure it out by getting there. He didn't know it offhand.
So got you. I finally got you. One of your own kind is admitting the importance of Montreal, Quebec, Canada in the eyes of the American people. Folks, when we come back, more with our VIP guest, Mr. Steve Moss, and our VIP business insider himself, Richard Smith, and myself, Don Emilio Zeno. Please stay tuned. Smith. I'm Don Emilio Zeno, and of course, our VIP guest this week, originally from Washington, D.C., now here in Montreal, about to make some world history. Please help us welcome Mr. Steve Moss. Steve, you had left off hailing Montreal as some sort of secret society, which originates way back to the Americans somehow. Please continue.
Well, Rich, I was going to give you a thesis statement, and I ended up giving you the first chapter of a book or something. So I'm going to try to get back to your original question: what do I do? So what happens is now I've discovered this group of people that I didn't know anything about, that I seem to be related to, not from right now, but from in the past. And I'm talking about an African American or a person of African descent related to a person that is considered French. And how does that correlation take place? So for me, I was looking at a piece on NASA last night called Why Explore. It seems that I ran into a situation that really changed my life. And to survive in this situation, I had to download almost every experience that I had from birth to the time I got to Montreal. One of the things that I was involved in when I came out of university is I had an opportunity through some folks that I met to do work with Budweiser, Schlitz, and also Coca-Cola. And in the promotional business, a lot of the things that you used from these companies are giveaways or shirts or T-shirts or things like that to promote or enhance a brand. Now, when hip hop came along, not only did you give these things away, but you manufactured the things that you had given away. So what I did in Montreal was to try to find a way to survive economically based upon experience while I developed and processed this story in a CD, DVD, and a journal. And so that led to finding a number of products that I could sell locally, as well as a number of products that I could sell in the United States, since that's where I'm from. So here in Canada, you have a tremendous land mass. I'm not talking just Quebec, of all of Canada, with about 30 million people. In the States, you have 300 million people. So I became valuable because of my knowledge from the States to small companies who wanted to advance their products into a larger demographic. And this led to the forming a sports and entertainment ensemble where small developers could get together and use corporate methodologies to market their products in the larger market. So I started to send products into the United States, and companies that were in the United States that wanted to get into Canada, I started to represent them also. And so this led to the real formulation of Group Demasi, the House of Demasi, and then documenting this information very similar to like the Da Vinci Code. The amazing thing for me, for the province, that I've never gotten over is that most people who are, I don't want to say ignorant, but most of us that don't know Quebec, and I've been throughout Quebec, don't know that maybe 11 or 12 million people in the United States come from Quebec. They speak French. Maybe 1.2 million of these people speak French at home. And the United States is a lot more French than we think. Now, the name may change, the spelling of the name may change a little bit, but a lot of Quebec, the Quebecois or the French influence was in America before the United States were formed.
Sure. Steve, I just want to see Rich's face right now. When you told him that French has a lot of power in the States.
Especially in New York City.
Oh, my God.
No way.
That's a fact.
Oh, my God. Where were you all these years?
That's a fact. As a matter of fact, it's available on the internet. If you punch in Franco-American, most of this information comes up. And also, Rich, while I was here, my lady is French-Canadian. She's a French and Lebanese. Her father's a renowned professor here. I talk so much, run my mouth so much, in my float like a butterfly and stink like a bee mentality, that the idea was, can you prove what you're saying, Steve? So actually, the National Geographics and IBM, under something called the Genographic Project, have a program where you can trace your DNA for $99.
Sure.
And so we got the kit. Julie surprised me with the kit as a Christmas present. I did the swab. I sent the information in. They set up a program for you on the website, and you will be amazing what you can learn from your blood. Now, archaeological finds are one thing, but your blood doesn't lie. And these are basically new scientific concepts that have been available to the general public since about 2005. Normally, this is a research program that stays within research fellowships and things like that, but it's available to the general public. And so what happens is it's like Joseph Campbell has something called the hero's journey. You take off on this journey and you go through these near-death experiences, and it doesn't really count unless you make it back with the elixir or the golden fleece, so to speak. You have to come back with the story. So the idea now is that I'm going to tell a story. Now, since I have a boxing background, and I've met personally Joe Louis, worked with Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali. Actually, I met Joe Louis when Don King was in town in the I don't want to say late 70s, around 76, to do a fight with Muhammad Ali. And we, a group of us young guys, either owned or worked with a very exclusive club in Washington that was in a mansion called the Foxtrot. The Foxtrot was legendary. Every major celebrity on earth came to the Foxtrot. And a colleague of mine got into a bet that we could do the largest boxing celebrity event in history in Washington, D.C. And so it's a long story, but I contacted Don King. Don King actually came down to see me. It happened to be Joe Louis's 63rd birthday, and we did an event that was just phenomenal. And I had an opportunity. I already knew Sugar Ray Leonard, but I had an opportunity to meet Joe Louis, his entire family, Ali's brother, Rahman Ali, Larry Holmes, Esteban de Jesus. I mean, almost everybody on earth who was involved in boxing happened to be in Washington that time for this big fight. And as a result of that, I got involved in boxing. The waitresses that we had at the place, Don allowed us to use them as ring girls. These were all freshmen or sophomore, actually gorgeous girls that were college students at Howard University, which is why I went to grad school. So me meeting a guy, no disrespect, coming out of prison when I'm coming out of university kind of changed my life. Now, if you're going to tell a story, you're going to get a lot more interest in a story if it's not quite a National Geographic special and it has some truth to the story. Then you're going to get a wider, broader, more interested viewing audience. So you kind of put these two stories together. I also had the opportunity to be in a movie with Ridley Scott called Hannibal. Ridley Scott also did American Gangster, and Frank Lucas, of course, is a legendary criminal guy who had a great idea. Denzel said, "It's not so much that I believe in what you did, Frank, it's just that you have a fantastic story." So my idea was, if I had a product that wasn't illegal, didn't hurt anybody, and I could market it like Frank, maybe we could change the economy a little bit. And that's sort of where I am now.
Steve, I want the folks to know I've had the pleasure of meeting you about a week ago. And make a long story short, folks, he looks like Michael Duncan, the actor, but he sounds like Denzel Washington. Has anyone ever told you that?
Well, Michael Duncan, yeah, Denzel Washington, yeah, but I think that's more flattery. But yeah, I mean, Michael Duncan.
No, it's the truth. Rich, wouldn't you agree with that?
I don't know who the first guy is. So.
Well, the first guy, he played in the Green Mile. But anyways, we're not here to.
Okay, yeah.
We're not here to hail Michael Duncan.
Yes,
but
sure.
Folks, we are here interviewing a VIP, very interesting person who happens to be Stefan Moss, who's a boxing connoisseur. And now we'd like to shift, with your permission, Steve, we'd like to shift all the way to your boxing world, which you've already started, because there's a lot of things that you want to reveal to the VIP Business Insider people, which is Rich and I. And we thank you for that, by the way. It's a first here on the. It's a first on the VIP internet radio.
Well, thank you. I'm delighted. I'm honored.
Hey, Steve, or Stefan, actually. Are you involved at all in the mixed martial arts part of the sports?
You know, this is the thing about me now. I'm a connoisseur of the art of boxing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, boxing to me, if you see a good boxer, because I play football, but if you see a good boxer, you're almost looking at a ballet dancer. Now, I don't want you to take that wrong as a ballet dancer being a effeminate situation.
No, of course not. Yeah.
I've seen some enormous talent. I had an opportunity to meet Joe Louis, to meet Sugar Ray Leonard, to meet Muhammad Ali, not at a party, but in a working situation. And I'm from Washington, D.C., and I'm from a community where boxing has always carried a connotation of social mobility. You know what I mean? Which has changed nowadays. Boxing doesn't necessarily carry the weight of a people like it did many years ago. Jack Johnson was the heavyweight champion of the world in 1910. He carried an enormous burden because of not only of his skills, but of his sexual preference or his romantic preference. Joe Louis carried the burden. Sugar Ray Robinson carried the burden. Ali carried the burden. And all of these athletes were, I don't want to say they were role models that carried a group of people or the legacy of a people to a higher plane, unless you guys disagree.
No, we agree.
Okay.
So Don, we're skipping this commercial segment, right?
Absolutely.
No,
This man is so interesting. Let me tell you, I'm just sitting back and enjoying the moment. So, folks, I'm sure you're glad not to hear me talk for a change. Please go on, Stefan. Please go on.
Yes.
Thanks, John.